I am divorcing my wife after finding out that my son is not mine. A few weeks ago, I learned that my wife had an affair 6 years ago. I found out when her sister, whom I visited to see how her own child's delivery went, confessed that my wife had drunkenly slept with her best friend 6 years prior. According to her, my wife deeply regretted it. At the time she told me I was with my son, and immediately after leaving her house I went to take a paternity test with him, fearing the worst. A week later I get the results and my fears came true. My son is not mine. For some reason, I began to see the boy differently, more as an acquaintance than a son. With proof in hand, I confronted my wife at night when the child was sleeping. She asked me who told me, and I simply told her that it is none of her business, although obviously it will not take long to connect the dots that it was her sister. Well, that is not my problem now. Regardless of that, I asked her for a divorce, which is now in process. She was devastated. She swore to me more than once that nothing happened with anyone again, that she has been faithful to me in body and soul since then. I held back the urge to insult her to avoid complications during the divorce issue, not believing a word she said, mostly blaming the alcohol instead of taking the blame herself. After talking about it, she threatened me, saying that she would demand full custody of the child. I was so annoyed at that moment that I told her, okay, I don't want anything to do with something that is not mine, that she keep the child and I'll keep the dogs. We have 2 dogs that we adopted as puppies and they are currently 8 years old each. After my words, she tried to convince me to take care of the child with her, that I am his father. At that moment I exploded. I was so angry and I had held back so much the urge to scream, that I just yelled at her to go and take her bastard with her. A week has passed since that and I am at home. It is in my name because it is a gift from my parents. She went to her parents' house with her kid. She has not called me since then. She left with everything and the half-asleep kid when I yelled at her, especially since it was the first time I really yelled at her. It sure affected her. I talked to my parents and my dad told me that I did the right thing and that I shouldn't be raising something that is not of my blood, and I agree with him. However, the pain is still there. My younger brother told me to write here to entertain myself. I am currently seeing a therapist 3 times a week, who told me that I have already taken the first step, which was to leave behind what causes me pain. It just hurts to know that my family no longer exists. Regarding why my sister-in-law told me everything, according to her, she felt guilty seeing me always happy with my son, knowing that he may not be mine, and that the fact that we went to visit her in a moment of weakness caused her to completely break down with guilt. I don't know how true that is. I just know that right now I feel tremendous hatred for my wife, and a feeling between pain and resentment for the child, although it's just time to get ahead. I just hope the divorce goes smoothly. We have separate financiers and properties, and if she really asks for child support I have proof that it's not mine. According to my lawyer that's more than enough, if she tries a legal process for that. My therapist also recommended that I not see him nor her, that regardless of the child's feelings, I should focus on my own first, that the child is no longer my problem and the sooner I accept it, the better.
I'm scared to marry my partner simply because the wedding would be so embarrassing for me. My side would be nearly empty and his side would be full. Me and my partner come from different worlds. His family has a house cleaner, my mom was a house cleaner. I don't mind that his family is wealthier than mine, but they are also so close. I love it and at times, I envy it. I moved across the country to live with my boyfriend, and that's where I got to know his family. They're really kind, but sometimes I sense his mom worries about me, being just 22, moving so far away from my own family. In the 6 months since I've been here, I haven't had much chance to visit my family, unlike his family, who are very close-knit. In fact, in the last 9 months, including the time before we moved here when we were in a different place for a summer job, I've only seen my family once. I believe she's worried because I overheard her asking my boyfriend if I intend to visit my family soon. During our conversation, I mentioned that I have both an adoptive family and a birth family. Her reaction was a mix of surprise and relief as she said, "So you do have a lot of people who love you." I assured her that I do, but I explained that, unlike my boyfriend's family, my family isn't very close. We don't stay in touch on a daily or even weekly basis. My relationship with my adoptive family was difficult, and I hardly saw my mom until I was 18, except for rare occasions every few years. This was because she struggled financially and had mental health issues, along with poor choices in men, so she couldn't take care of me. As a result, not many people from my family would likely attend my wedding, and those who would come might not be as emotionally invested as my boyfriend's family is in him. I realize it may come off as insecure or jealous, but honestly, I feel that way, and it's a bit embarrassing. Picture a large, close-knit Italian family that's really organized, compared to my chaotic family background. His parents even pay our rent because they want to, and they did the same for his sisters while he's studying. This is a stark contrast to when I lived with my mom, where she made me pay rent just to stay there. Since moving here, we've made some mutual friends who I know will support both of us, but naturally, they're closer to him since they've been friends for life. Also, after I moved, I lost touch with many of my friends back home, not that I had many to begin with. This was partly because I only lived there from ages 18 to 21 and wasn't in school, which limited my social circle. I literally adore my boyfriend so much. We've had our ups and downs, but he's talked about wanting to marry me, which I love the idea of being his wife. But the thought of the wedding scares me so much. The thought of feeling like I have no one who would honestly care to be there other than my mom and one of my sisters scares me.
What's your greatest achievement under the sheets? To me, Emily and I are both the best relationship and the ultimate gaming duo. We're like peanut butter and chocolate, That's what we call each other since she's Blasian and I'm black. We're obsessed with Guitar Hero and we go crazy for what feels like hours. But there's this one song, man, you guys know it too, Through the Fire and the Flames. It's like the Everest of Guitar Hero, and we've been struggling to conquer it. So, one night, we're chilling in our cozy gaming den, eyes glued to the screen. Emily, with that mischievous smile of hers, drops a bombshell. She leans in, all secretive like, and goes, "Hey babe, I'll give you head and let you finish in me, and a special treat if you can beat Through the Fire and the Flames and turn off the game." I'm all ears now. My heart's racing. Reward? What kind of reward? I ask, trying to act cool even though my mind's on fire. Emily's grin widens, and she whispers, "Tabs chocolates, bro, you know, the ones on TikTok that supposedly spice things up." Damn, my jaw practically dropped to my ass. Tabs chocolates? This just got hella interesting. Feeling determined and horny all at once, I lock eyes with Emily and say, "You're on, babe. If I conquer the beast of a song, you better be ready to unleash the chocolate magic, girl." We grab our trusty plastic guitars, fingers twitching with anticipation. The song starts, and we dive into the virtual world of rock and roll. Notes fly by like a freaking hurricane, but we're in sync, zoned in, and ready to slay this beast. Attempt after attempt, we push ourselves to the limit, fingers cramp, sweat drips, and frustration mounts, but we refuse to give up. We're in this together, driven by the promise of the ultimate reward. Then it happens. On that one epic run, the stars align, and we freaking nail it. The crowd goes wild, and we high-five like we just won the World Cup. We did it, man, breathing heavy and grinning like a couple of mad geniuses. Emily grabs my hand and leads me to our bedroom. She pulls out a secret stash of Tabs chocolates from this black and gold box with gold foiling, and it's game time. We pop those chocolate delights into our mouths, savoring the rich, velvety taste. Instantly, a rush courses through us, intensifying our desires like never before. It's like our bodies have been electrified, ready to take things to a whole new level. Inspired by the rhythm of the song that we just conquered, we decide to take it up a notch. We sync our movements, our thrusts, to the beat of Through the Fire and the Flames. It's an insane idea, but we're fueled by the passion and the energy of the moment. As the song blares from the speakers, our bodies move in perfect harmony, riding the waves of pleasure and matching the beat. It's a mind-blowing experience, the ultimate fusion of music, gaming, and our deepest desires. The Tabs chocolates have enhanced our drive, intensifying every sensation. Check out Emily's wild perspective.
My sister's boyfriend sent me explicit photos this morning and I'm in shock but can't tell anyone. This morning, I woke up to a text that left me in absolute shock. The sender? My sister's long-term boyfriend, a guy who's been a part of my life for years. They've been a couple for a whopping 8 years, a journey filled with ups and downs, to say the least. They've had their good times and bad, and even experienced the devastating loss of their baby son 5 years ago. Their relationship isn't exactly smooth sailing. They often clash and argue, yet they're oddly reliant on each other. It's a puzzle I can't quite figure out. Let's go back in time a bit. This boyfriend and I have quite a history. We've traveled together, had crazy parties, and even shared some adventurous moments. I've been his partner in crime, his trusted friend. We've faced all sorts of situations together, from happy times to sad ones. He's the type of guy who feels like a brother, someone I can count on. He's always treated me well, and his behavior has never set off any alarms. My sister, on the other hand, is a real beauty, much more attractive than me. He's even joked about my looks, but in a friendly, teasing way. That's why what happened this morning shocked me so much. 3 years back, I moved away from my hometown, but that didn't weaken our connection. We kept talking, especially when my sister was going through her tough times. Now, let's take a step back to the past, a time when our chats would sometimes take a playful turn after a few drinks. In those moments, I might have cracked a playful joke, with my sister around, asking him to show off his downstairs goods. It was all in good fun, something we both knew was just joking around. Honestly, I hadn't even thought about it for a long time. Now, let's jump ahead to this morning. My phone beeped, and I opened it to find 2 really explicit pictures he'd sent out of nowhere, and there was a message, shockingly bold: "You got what you asked for, now show me a nice photo of your chest, don't tell your sister." My mouth practically fell open. I was stunned by what I was seeing. I quickly showed everything to my partner, who couldn't resist making fun of him a bit. Then, I blocked him, closing that door completely. Caught in this weird and really unsettling spot, I'm faced with a tough choice. Do I spill the beans to my sister and tell her the unthinkable truth? But she's like a roller coaster of intense feelings, swinging between sadness and fury. If I let her in on this big secret, I can almost predict it'll be a total mess. Plus, our friends are all connected, so I can't talk to them about it either. I'm stuck, handling the heaviness of all this on my own.
My ex-wife wants me to be with her in her last days. Backstory: I met my ex when we were both 10. She is, my twin sister's best friend, so we've always been kind of a trio growing up. We started dating at 14 and got married at 23. Things got ugly though, because 5 years after getting married, she told me she had a month-long affair with her coworker. Apparently the guilt was too much for her, so she confessed. We tried to work through it, but after a few months of trying, I knew that despite the fact that I loved her, I couldn't trust her anymore. She told me she still loved me and that she'd wait for me and prove that I was the only one. I wanted to believe her, but some things just can't be fixed. We never had kids. 3 years after the divorce, I met my now wife, 38 female, and we got married 2 years after dating. She's everything I could ever dream of in a wife and more. My ex, as my sister told me, they're still besties, never really recovered. She quit her job and is now working in a church. Throughout my relationship with my wife, she kept trying to get back together, and on the day of my wedding, she told me she still loved me and would love no one else. She said this was the last time she would bother me, but that she'll wait for however long it took. Apparently she's honest in that regard, at least because my sister says she's never been with anyone since. So here's what happened recently. My wife and I, married for 7 years now, have 2 kids, 7 female, and 3 male. My sister came over with her own kids so the cousins could play. While my wife was out to pick up lunch, my sister sat me down and told me the situation about my ex. Apparently, she only has less than 6 months to live. She refused treatment and wants to live the last few months to the fullest. One thing on her bucket list though was that she wanted to feel like my wife again. No lovemaking, no kissing. She just wanted me to be around the house. She still lives in the house we lived in, again, and maybe hold her from time to time. I told her I wouldn't do that, because that was pretty much emotionally cheating. My sister kept arguing and begging me to at least see her and hear her out. We kept arguing, no screaming. The kids were in the next room with her older daughter, till my wife came back. My sister told her the whole story, and while she looked upset, she said she understood where my ex was coming from. When my sister left, my wife and I talked about it. My wife knows everything that happened in the past with my ex. She says while she isn't thrilled about the idea, she won't get upset if I decided to see her on a regular basis. My wife is literally the best thing that ever happened to me, and I love her more than anyone. She makes me happier than I've ever been in my life. Even in the good times with my ex, she knows I won't cheat. I also have zero romantic feelings for my ex, so there's nothing lingering there. I don't hate her or anything. It's just that the love I had for her has long since died. After thinking about it for a while, I'm honestly 50-50 about it. I know I don't owe her anything, but I feel like I might regret not seeing her at least one more time, since the last time I saw her was on my wedding day, and that wasn't a good encounter for either of us. Unless you count the times I occasionally see her in the store or something, I honestly feel like, despite what she did, she still deserves to go with some peace. On the other hand, I'm not entirely sure if this might potentially affect our marriage. My wife says she's okay with it, and I believe her, but I just can't be sure that she'll feel the same way after it happens. I don't want anything to jeopardize what I have right now. No matter what, I'm not too thrilled about going myself, to be honest. Any advice? What should I do? I recently found out that my older sister is actually my biological mother. My older sister, let's call her Rose, and I have a great relationship since I was a baby. We were raised with an amazing adoptive family, and she has always taken care of me. I grew up in a very warm and loving environment, but from what I was told, I was lucky. I was told the story of how me and my sister had 2 junkie parents who never took care of us. They never bothered feeding us and used to left us at a junkie friend's house for days to go out partying. When my mom was pregnant with me, she smoked and got drunk. Luckily I turned out pretty fine, pretty often, and when I was born my sister was the only one who took care of me. When I was 2 months old they left us both in a mall and left. We got help from an old couple who also turned into our adoptive family, and we contacted the police, but my parents weren't at the house, which looked like a homeless cave. We never saw them again, and after several months in foster care, the couple that helped us throughout the whole way, by the way, agreed to adopt us. Today I'm 19 and Rose is 34. I still live with my adoptive family, and she lives about 20 minutes away, so I come and visit her at least 3 to 4 times a week. So a couple of months ago my friend offered me to take a DNA test to find some information about my heritage, since my sister wouldn't speak of them much. After the results came in, I found out some pretty interesting things, like being 50% Ashkenazi Jew. I found out later that I had an aunt, 33 female, in the system. I immediately reached out to her, let's call her Janet, and we agreed to meet in person, all that without telling Rose a thing. When we met up I could see we have some similar characteristics, like same hair color and same eyes. We tried to figure things out, so I asked her if she has a brother or sister, and she told me that when she was 13 her 14-year-old sister got pregnant while being drunk with her junkie boyfriend, and a month after giving birth she ran away with the baby after some pretty intensive fights with her parents. They never found her and stopped looking after 1.5 years. I connected the dots, asked to see a picture of her, so we went to her parents' house. Mom wasn't home and father died 3 years ago. When I saw the picture, I knew this was Rose, 100%. Rose is my mom. We were never abandoned. We didn't have junkie parents, and she fabricated the entire thing to me and our adoptive family. I immediately gave Janet a hug and told her that it's too much for me right now and asked her to keep it a secret for now. I went to my best friend's house, told him everything, and for a week now I'm sleeping over at his place. I told my parents and my sister I'm at his house because he bought a new game that we both wanted for long and avoided talking to Rose much. I can't look her in the eyes right now, let alone tell her I know the truth. What the heck am I supposed to do? How should I handle this? Should I tell her I know?